Now that's how you start the Christmas break. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome back to Kraken R&R, where the Seattle Kraken do hang on to beat the Anaheim Ducks 3-2 in regulation. Not their most convincing win ever, and honestly, of the wins they've had this season, probably the one that they played the worst, but it's hard to complain too much. They do get that win, those two important points in the standings, increase their point streak to now 6 games, and give us that early Christmas gift. And with the win, it does keep their hopes alive of getting back to NHL 500 by the time the Winter Classic rolls around on January 1st, with 2 more games between now and then, and the team sitting currently at 12, 14, and 9. Now, in order to get there, they will have to beat a Calgary team that, let's be honest, they kind of need to beat as far as the playoff race is concerned anyway. Obviously, still a lot of season left, but Calgary is one of those teams around that NHL 500 that, with how things are going in the West, are battling for those wildcard spots. And then after that, they've got Philadelphia right before the Winter Classic, and surprising everybody, Philadelphia is one of the better teams in the East. And for that matter, the NHL as a whole. But all of that is post-Christmas's problem. For now, let's just enjoy this win, this point streak the Kraken are on, and it's not just good news that stops with the win for the Kraken here before the Christmas break. As for this game, Jared McCann was back, missing just the one game for the Kraken. That having been said, it was not his best game ever. He did still look like he was kind of battling through something in this one, so I think he might have exaggerated how healthy he was to get back and play this game. Either way, he's got 3 more days of rest now, so hopefully that helps heal him up at least a little bit more. And as we jump right into the game, the Kraken look great right out of the gate. They get 3 shots in the first minute, maybe 2, but it's all Kraken early on. The Ducks do start to push back a little bit, but even the offensive chances they're getting, like was the case in the Kings game, are pretty much all to the outside here early on, and the Kraken aren't giving them much as far as quality is concerned, even though they are starting to pass the Kraken in quantity of shots on net. But still, this is a first period that the Kraken really do handle, and eventually it pays off for them with a power play midway through. Which, quite frankly, it's almost amazing, given how the season has been going for the Ducks, that it took them this long to find their way to the penalty box, as they are by far, to this point in the season, the most penalized team in the NHL, with already 82 more penalty minutes coming into this game than any other team. And that even includes the Senators and Panthers, who had that game earlier this season that resulted in 164 penalty minutes between the two teams. Even with all that being said, though, somehow, incredibly, this would be the only power play the Kraken would get over the course of this entire game, which has to be some sort of season record for the Ducks, giving up just the 1 power play in a game. And it's in this power play, early on in this power play, that the Kraken finally decide that it's time to really test Joey Daccord. As although through that entire Kings game, as we mentioned, and early on in this one, the Kraken have been pretty good at keeping everything to the outside and not forcing Daccord to make too many spectacular saves. Early on, a puck gets past Dunn, and it's a breakaway for the Ducks shorthanded. Daccord, though, comes up with the breakaway save, and right back the other way, the Kraken get reset up in the offensive end. The puck's passed around a couple of times. McCann takes it off the stick of Dunn, passes it over to Bjorkstrand, and he rifles a shot perfectly into the top corner to give the Kraken the 1-0 lead on the power play goal. For Bjorkstrand, it's his 11th of the season, as he's starting to catch up to McCann now for the team lead. McCann's still on 14, so a little bit of a buffer, but Bjorkstrand has been hot of late and has especially found a knack on the power play for rifling these wrist shots through traffic and into the back of the net, getting a lot of his goals on the power play to this point. And with the assist, Vince Dunn picks up his 22nd and McCann his 7th, so even with a game that probably wasn't his best, McCann still gets on the scoring sheet with that assist in his return. As it would turn out, though, it would not be Dunn's only chance to get on the scoring sheet in this game, though, as just a couple minutes later, back at 5-on-5, it's the Kraken with a rush chance back the other way, and an odd man chance set up very nicely by Tatar as he gets the puck into the offensive end and then dishes it to Maddie coming in to set up the 2-on-1, and then Maddie with a beautiful, saucy pass over the stick of the defenseman to Dunn on the far side, and for Dunn, it's just a tap into the empty net for his 5th of the season and giving the Kraken the 2-0 lead. Though once again with this goal, and don't get me wrong, it is nice to see Dunn getting up into the play and scoring here. I mean, I don't really care who scores. I suppose Dunn's on my fantasy team, not that anyone cares, so I particularly like when Dunn or Maddie score, but with this one, this is one of those rare goals where the guy that scores the goal probably had the least impressive part of the play. Tatar with a secondary assist made the nice play through the neutral zone, getting it into the offensive end and then setting up Maddie and Dunn for the 2-on-1. And then Maddie, probably the most impressive, with that saucer pass perfectly over the defenseman's outstretched stick. He couldn't just slide it along the ice because of how the 2-on-1 was being played, but he's able to get that perfect saucer pass over that stick and still land in front of Dunn in a way that he can handle it and hit it into the net. And for Beniers, that is his 12th on the season and 3rd assist in the last 3 games, plus the goal, so 4 points in 3 games. To this point, he wasn't done getting points in this game quite yet. And for Tatar, his 10th of the season, 2nd with the Kraken, and 3rd point with the team. Sadly, though, this would be the end of the Kraken scoring in this first period, which, as it turns out, it might have been nice if they'd scored a little bit more in this first while things were going well, especially considering how the second period goes, because although, as it turns out, they didn't need more scoring than they got, yeah, the second period was not their best. Decord was at his best, but he kind of had to be because of how sloppy the rest of the team was playing. Well, I suppose the second period doesn't start off that poorly, but just a few minutes in, Tanev has his stick go wild, it hits a duck in the face, draws blood, and that means the Kraken are on the penalty kill for 4 minutes. Which I suppose, for what it's worth, they do almost kill off the first 2 minutes, the first minor of that double minor, although even that isn't pretty. Decord does have to come up with a couple of saves, and gets a bit lucky with a weird bounce that almost ends up being the 3rd hellish bounce that ends up past Decord, as a shot that I think he got a piece of to deflect up into the glass behind him, bounces off of that glass, off the top of the net, then over him as he's looking backwards at where it went, into the crease. Fortunately, Alexiak's able to clear it out, so the Kraken dodge a bullet there, but eventually, in the final couple seconds of that first power play, right off a face-off, there's some hack and whack, the puck goes right out of Vetrano in the high slot, he fires off a bullet of a one-timer that goes right to the side, the short side of the net that Decord just vacated as he tries to follow the pass, and it's just a perfect shot. There's really not much Decord can do about it. It's an absolute bullet right back to where he came from, and he was screened a little bit, so the Ducks get the power play goal and pull back to within 1, with still 2 more minutes of power play immediately following. Thankfully, the Kraken are at least able to kill off the remaining 2 minutes of the power play, though, and survive, at least to some extent, this power play. The lead survives the double minor power play, even if it has been cut in half as we get into the rest of the second period, which really continues to go pretty poorly for the Kraken. They play pretty sloppy, allow a lot of pretty good chances for the Ducks, including another breakaway for McTavish that Decord comes up with a big save on. McTavish has a nice move to force Decord from one side of the net to the other, and then tries to force it 5-hole as he's spread between the 2 posts, but Decord is at the last possible second able to get his blocker to the ice right in between his legs to block the puck from going in, so a nice save there, and the Kraken are able to survive all of that, plus honestly a little bit of luck, as I think it was Killorn that had a wide open net. Decord had gotten pulled out and there was a rebound that went right out to the top, but Killorn just forks it wide right past Decord through the open crease and empty net. A little bit helped out by Tatar giving him a shove as he was trying to shoot the loose puck, so Tatar maybe helped save a goal here. Either way, the Kraken somehow, some way, and a lot of that was Decord, managed to survive to the second intermission with still maintaining that 2-1 lead. Which again, at least so far this season, has been an important thing for this team to have that lead going into the third period, where they have been able to still come up with points in each of the now 12 games, I think, that they've entered a third period with a lead. 3 of them they lost in overtime, and they have blown some leads. In fact, I think one of their overtime wins was a blown lead in the third period that they still managed to win. Either way, they have been getting points, and that's what they need at this point in the season. Still, it gets off to a shaky start, and eventually the Ducks end up on another power play, which the Kraken are able to kill off with relative ease, certainly at least compared to the first half of that double minor. The second, it goes a lot better penalty kill-wise than that one did. Obviously, they don't allow a goal, which certainly helps. And then as it comes to an end, or shortly thereafter, it's Seattle's turn to get a rush chance back the other way. Once again, it's the first line creating it, this time Beniers starting it through the neutral zone. He gets it up to Vince Dunn, once again involved in the play deep in the offensive end. Dunn hands it off to Tatar, and Tatar does the rest, weaving through the Anaheim defense, and then just dangling forehand to backhand as he goes right up to the goal line off to the side, and from a very tight angle at the last possible second, whips the backhand shot and roofs it into the back of the net to give the Kraken the 3-1 lead. For Tatar, it's his 3rd of the season, 2nd with the Kraken, so already in 4 games, he has more goals in Seattle than he did in, I think, 21 games it was with the Avs. So yeah, it seems like things are going pretty well for Tatar so far here in Seattle, not unlike how they did with Tolvanen as he joined the team in January of last year, and is also his second goal, or second point, I should say, of this game. His second now multi-point game with the Kraken, which is the same number of multi-point games he had with the Avs. And with that multi-point game, he's right back to being a point per game player in Seattle so far. While this goal is a nice one from Tatar, though, as it turns out, it was not the nicest goal of the game, and not by a long shot. It was the nicest goal by a Kraken player, so I suppose take that for what it's worth. But as the Ducks start to get a little bit more and more desperate for offense, and the Kraken a little bit more and more content to play defense first and just try to waste the rest of this time and get their 2 points in the standings, which I suppose eventually they're able to do, they do allow the Ducks to get a couple of very good chances and spend some time in the offensive end over the next few minutes. And eventually, a Ducks player gets lost behind the net, and who is that? Number 11? Oh, no, 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 no! Yep. It's Trevor Zegras in his first game back with the Ducks after missing 20 games on the IR. Off of injury, he's right back for this last game before the Christmas break, and although the team didn't win, he gives the fans everything they could have wanted outside of a win by just doing the Trevor Zegras thing. He gets left alone behind the Kraken net, though I suppose he does do this on the move, so it's not like he was just standing back there allowed to do whatever he wanted. But he essentially did what he wanted as he picks the puck up on his stick behind the net and then just whips it around into the top corner of the net. It's a lacrosse, Michigan, whatever you want to call it. It's a spectacular goal from Zegras. I think the third one of these he's done now in the NHL on top of that highlight reel assist that he had with Sonny Milano a couple seasons back. Either way, there's really not much of anything anyone could have done other than, challenge him behind the net so that he couldn't just do this with all of that space. It's an absolute highlight reel goal. Unfortunately for Decord, after a fantastic game, he gets a bit posterized by Zegras, and the Ducks pull back to within one with still a handful of minutes left in this game to try to even things up. I mean, there's really only so much I can do with screenshots here to display how incredible of a goal this was. That having been said, it wasn't the only time that even happened this night in the NHL, as Connor Bedard got his first of these goals in the NHL, which I can't imagine will be his last. This probably won't be Zegras' last either. It's just the next level of skill that's coming in with this younger generation. And for what it's worth, the Kraken do have at least one guy in their pipeline that likes to try this kind of thing from time to time in Jagger Furcus, so maybe we'll see this at the NHL level at some point. Either way, I would definitely encourage you to go back and watch the highlights of this game. You'll be able to see it. It'll be all over NHL highlights for just this season in general, much less this night or this week. I suppose at least the good news for the Kraken, though, is that they do use this Zegras goal as a bit of a wake-up call, which, now that I think about it, they kind of hit snooze on and only half wake up, as just a few seconds, or at least not much more than a minute later, the Ducks nearly even things up on a beautiful feed from down in the corner behind the net, up net front, and it's a one-touch shot that Decord absolutely comes up with a robbery fantastic save that really should have been in the back of the net and tied this game at 3. Decord makes that fantastic game-saving save, though, and the Kraken do wake up at that point and play the final 5 minutes of this game very well defensively, honestly playing defense by offense, really forcing the puck down to the other end of the ice and not allowing too much back the other way. The Ducks try to get the goaltender pulled for the last 3 minutes, but aren't able to do it until 20 seconds left. And at that point, it's just too little too late. The Kraken hold on to beat the Ducks, largely thanks to Joey Decord, but they hold on through not their best game and get those 2 points in the standings. Which I suppose in that way, with this game as a whole, it might have been nice if they played a little bit more of a full 60-minute game and kept the momentum in that way going that they'd kind of built over these last few games, as certainly the second period left a lot to be desired, and even a couple moments there in the third. But at the end of the day, they still got the 2 points, and while it certainly would be nice for them to get back to playing more 60-minute games like they had been over this last little stretch once we get back from the Christmas break, it is also true that from time to time, hopefully not too often, but if you are going to win regularly, occasionally you do need to win games where you're not playing at your best, and for the Kraken, this was definitely one of those. Maybe the first one this season. All that to say, though, it's not that there weren't some players that had fantastic games for the Kraken in this one. Certainly that first line continues to be a driving force for this team offensively. Really the first time this season through this last stretch that you've been able to say that about the first line. And Tatar jumping right into that first line and helping drive that has been a very welcome sight to see, especially considering he kind of seemed like he was just put there to fill an injury spot, but based on how they've been playing since he's there, he's not going to leave it anytime soon. Beniers obviously the 2 points, Tatar a multi-point game, and then on the back end, Vince Dunn picks up the 3 points, of course, the headliner being Decord. And I suppose that might as well just carry us right into the Kraken 3 stars, which as always are brought to you by the patrons over on Patreon. If you want to help decide these Kraken 3 stars after each and every one of the Kraken games, and this is one where I definitely could have used the help as there were a handful of guys that I was waffling between who would get the 3 stars. You can help support this video, or this channel I should say, a little bit more than you already are by watching this video to this point, by going to the link down below and helping support on Patreon as well. So then with the first star, even though in some ways it kind of feels like cheating to continuously give the same guy star after star after star in these, but there's no denying that for the second game in a row, the Kraken do not win this game without Joey Decord. Now, he got the first star in the last one because of the sheer volume of shots that he saved, just allowing 1 goal on 40 plus shots. On this one, though, it had a lot more to do with the quality of shots that he saved, and quite a number of high quality saves. 2 on breakaways, the robbery there at the end of the third period to keep the Ducks from tying it. And although he does let in twice as many goals as he did against a better team in the Kings, he definitely had to work a little bit harder because, especially of how the team was playing in front of him in that second period. Though, of course, the extra goal of support at the other end of the ice certainly helps, and when it comes to that part of the game, there's one player on the team that contributed, at least on the scoring sheet anyway, in all 3 of the Kraken goals, that being Vince Dunn with the goal and 2 assists. Again, his goal may be the least impressive of those 3 points, although actually his assist on the power play, he pretty much had the puck taken off of his stick by McCann, so we'll say the goal's a little bit better than that. Either way, a fantastic night from Dunn. He was also pretty good in the defensive end. And yeah, he had the one issue where the puck got past him on the power play to allow that shorthanded breakaway before the Kraken scoring got started. But Decord bailed him out there, and otherwise, a great night. Then with the third star, I mean, it's really between Beniers and Tatar, the guys on that first line that drove the offense. Both of them also playing pretty well on the other end of the ice on top of that. But in the end, I'm going to go with Tatar. He has the goal and an assist, plus he did have that significant, I think, role in preventing Killorn from scoring on that wide open net on the one bad rebound that Decord did allow up into the crease, with the puck just sitting right out there at the top of the crease in front of a gaping net. So yeah, Tatar being able to contest that certainly helps prevent that potential goal from happening. As always, though, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Eberle, for his part, even though he doesn't get on the scoring sheet, was a part of that great night by the first line once again. Alexiak was fantastic on the defensive end. And yeah, let me know who your 3 stars would be. Maybe one of those guys appears. Obviously, I would say honorable mention for them, and Beniers certainly would be a 4th star if there was such a thing. Yeah, who your 3 stars would be, maybe who your 3 stars of the Kraken season so far would be going into this Christmas break, or maybe what you as a Kraken fan are most looking forward to getting for Christmas, or I suppose if you're not a Kraken fan, what you would most want to get for Christmas for your team, or for Hanukkah or whatever other holidays you might be celebrating if you're not celebrating Christmas. With all that having been said, though, if you have made it to this point, as always, thank you very much for watching. If you did like or enjoy this video, there are buttons for that kind of stuff down below that help support the channel, so I'd appreciate you using them. Like and subscribe, of course, and until next time, stay safe out there, be good to each other, God bless, Merry Christmas, or whatever else you're celebrating, even if it's just the weekend, and as always, go Kraken!